So, I think everybody knows me. I'm Joyce Hall, and I'm on the city council. So,
I'm Bill Campbell. I'm a member of this committee.
I'm Josh Olson,
operations supervisor.
Operations Supervisor.
Joanne Kenny, Administrative
I
Assistant.
got your email. Thanks.
Randy Lexon, I'm the EMS chief.
Brenda Malinowski, Finance Director for City of Hudson.
Jim Weber, City Council.
Colleen Hammer, part of the committee.
Good. Well, thank you for coming. And so the goals and so moving the EMS closer to being self-sustaining. We want community and employee involvement in this. We want a transparent process. One of the things that Josh had brought up was that a career plan for employees as well. Are there any other items that we need to make sure that are listed in the goals?
I think the other thing that was that we've mentioned is being a community-based organization.
Mm-hmm. Keep it a community-based organization. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Brenda, did you want us just to move item 4, the discussion and possible action on the budget to the top, or should we just take things in order? Take things in order?
Yep.
Okay. So discussion and possible action on survey of employees. So, we need to decide on a date to meet with the employees to get started with things, but we also need to decide how we want to do that, the survey, whether we want to do a written survey, whether we want,
Well,
So-
I guess I would ask first, what do you two think about having everybody surveyed? I mean, is that okay with you guys, or do you have any
Yeah.
I think
suggestions?
it's
or-
beneficial.
Okay,
Yeah, depending on what the survey is gonna be. I mean, I think you're gonna get more information just meeting with staff and, hearing.
I'm gonna have to ask everyone to speak really, really loud, because I am hard of hearing, so.
I'd say meeting
I mean,
with.
I heard
yeah.
you, but I just like it was barely, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would be just to gather information.
Yeah, I think meeting with them in person would be more beneficial than, doing a survey.
Okay, I would probably agree
Otherwise, the
myself.
survey is
Mhm.
gonna be 57 pages long, and people are gonna get tired within the first page, and they're not gonna
Right.
do it. So,
okay.
Okay.
to try to cover everything.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, I think you're gonna get better feedback that way.
Okay.
You're saying one-on-one, or is in groups, or?
However you guys decide to do it. I mean, it'd be a lot for, everybody on the roster to show up, and, I mean, you'd have a meeting that would go all night long, but
How many is everybody?
what is there?
Just shy of 40. So,
Well,
yeah.
Probably do it in groups of 6 to 10, without, and not everybody will say,
Yeah.
some people will say a lot, some people,
Some
just
might
hope to
not,
say one
might,
thing.
might
So-
might not even want to meet,
Yeah.
Some might.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the idea of one-on-one, and maybe we divvy up and just have kind of similar questions, and then divvy it up, like, okay, I'll pick 5, and we each pick 5 or something like that, and then maybe there's some people that don't really want to be interviewed. I don't want to make it too complicated. I just know that, when I talk to one person, they seem to really open up, whereas then as soon as you get 2 people, I don't know what you think about that.
I think as long as the questions are uniform and everybody's
Okay.
getting the same, question.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that getting too risky?
I don't know.
From a
What
political
would,
standpoint.
Our HR director, have we asked him?
I asked him,
thoughts?
he recommended that we do a written survey, because that way we would make sure that everybody's asked the same questions. What do the employees think?
I'm curious as to what you want to survey us on. What are we talking about here? Like, what do you want to know?
Honestly, the only thing I would want to know is, what do you suggest? Because you guys are out in
What
the
do we
field,
suggest?
you're going to have ideas, you're going to know what the problems are, what some potential solutions are. It would just be, and this is just me speaking,
Mhm.
brainstorming, because that's what we're here for, is to get ideas and come up, you know, we've got the goals, but, you know, just hearing what you have to say is all that I had. I didn't have too
Having
many
served
other
on-
things.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Having served on committees like this in the past, I think it'd be more beneficial to put out a universal survey with uniform questions, just as you've discussed, and then develop themes from that survey and then meet with the employees. I think it's really possible to meet one-on-one. I think you've decided that. I think if staff is gonna be reluctant to answer questions in person initially and might not tell you fully what they think, talking to you first. So I think they would be more truthful and open in a written survey, and then you can follow up with employees if there's a theme or problems that you see that need to be addressed.
And when we met last time, we were talking about a survey that's 1 page long, or maybe 2 pages max, for exactly the reason that you mentioned. And I think asking some very general questions and seeing what people say.
I guess, yeah, it sounds like everybody has different ideas of what we're trying to accomplish.
There was a reference to, they didn't define it at the survey, perhaps it said that in the 2010 review that was done. And I'm curious if there's anything that we would want to ask again, the same, as follow-up questions. I thought questioning, I said, if they did that, if it was not just a kind of a one-on-one or meeting in groups, if they actually had a structure that they followed, which I suspect they did, to some degree, if we could re-answer some questions.
Are those
as part
questions
of
in
that.
here?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's why,
So,
did anybody participate in that survey back in 2010 with Averis?
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to remember how they did it. I know
They did it one-on-one, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Because they asked me questions.
But I was also doing 2 separate roles at that time. So I was representing another service at the time as well as being an employee here. So I did get interviewed twice. But yeah, I don't remember anything written coming out with that one.
No.
But I think Joe's idea is good. Get an idea of kind of a baseline, common themes,
mhm.
and go from there.
And I think that we need to ask open-ended questions that,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know.
thinking too, yeah.
what are your concerns? What would you like to see changed, or what ideas do you have? Things like that.
And I
I think
think
it's a mix.
And maybe what we should do is, the first thing we should do is do a survey asking the employees, what questions do you want us to ask?
exactly, and that was gonna be my next
Okay.
point too, Joyce, is because just because you do a survey doesn't mean the right questions are being asked. And I think the employees, I think there's information that we'd like to share if it was asked in the right format.
Okay.
If I'm saying that
That would be
right,
very
No,
good
no.
if we could get that.
No, and that's what we want to know is
Yeah.
how do we phrase these questions so to make everyone feel comfortable? From my perspective, I think that we need to build trust to make sure that all the employees feel comfortable answering questions. So the first thing would be to ask, what questions would you like us to ask, and how would you like us to phrase them?
Because as an employee, as somebody that works the street, from my perspective, you have 2 EMS representatives on the committee, but with all due respect to them, they're management. You don't have an employee
Right.
component, so whoever formulates these questions, maybe you get regular staff input on the questions and then ask the questions back to the rest of the staff. However you would work that, I don't know, but.
So are you suggesting that we get some employees on this committee?
Yes. Perhaps 1 or 2 just for input, even if it's just specific to that. Ultimately, I think it'd be, in my opinion, it would be appropriate to have additional staff on the committee, 1 or 2, whatever it might be.
Okay.
Just because management's thought process and people that work the street every day, their thought process might be different. It's likely to be the same, we're one big department, but maybe, maybe there would be different input. Some days Brandon and I have different thoughts, so.
Well, and some of our goals are, transparency and building that trust so that you feel comfortable speaking up and telling us what's going on, and getting the employee input. Do we need to have the employees on the committee, or do we just need to invite them to be there? Should you be, or should you be sitting at the table rather, at this table rather than at that table? Yeah,
I
there's
don't know what everybody
a,
else thinks about that, but I have some input would be.
Mhm.
I think maybe we should vote upon each other and who we want to be on your board.
oh, okay.
Maybe. I think that's a good idea. Or if someone wants to volunteer, if no one wants to do it. But I think it might be a little bit messy if you invite people here all the time to give their opinions, because then it'll turn into a big hot mess. I think like you're gonna get a lot of opinions.
Right.
Yeah, if you guys could decide on one or two representatives.
And I think you'll get different input between full-time medics and the volunteer EMTs. Both different levels of care and different job. This is my career versus this is my part-time job. So I think if you had a good representation from both segments, not just Jen and I, we're both full-time, we're both paramedics, I don't think that would be helpful, just like a full,
Okay,
representation for management. It should be, so however it's done, I think it should be equal amongst the types of staff that we have.
okay. So full-time versus part-time, paramedic versus EMT.
It's important to recognize that there are 5 of us on the committee, and the rest of the people are advisory. So,
Yeah, and Paul Rhodey isn't
they
here,
can
he's,
still
he's
be
on the committee.
advisory.
We're the committee.
Certainly.
We take input and we make whatever decisions we make or direction, but everybody's advisory. And I think that's a good idea to bring some staff people on as advisory. I think it'd be very
Yeah,
helpful.
we can do that.
Can we step back for a second? I mean, we went around, but I don't think I have met any of you.
I'm Jen, I'm a full-timer paramedic.
Okay. No, okay.
Joel Elkin, I'm a full-time paramedic also.
Joel?
Joe.
Oh, Joe,
Yep,
okay.
Elkin.
I'm Charlie Smith, I'm part-time EMT.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Colleen.
All right, okay, so to summarize, it sounds like, okay, go ahead, you were gonna say something.
Here's what I would like to know. This might be a very short survey. What is the best thing about St. Croix EMS service? What's the worst thing? How can the service be improved? And then the big one, currently expenses exceed revenue. I think that's correct. How can we make the service sustainable? Cut expenses, how? Increase revenue, how?
I think
Sounds like a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's the other part of the sustainability issue is participation by the staff. So filling the shifts is an issue. And that is probably should be a point, to me, I'd like to see that's a pointed question, how do we do that?
What's the question?
How do we
How do we fill shift?
How do we fill the shifts?
Fill
Maybe
shifts,
Maybe that's a real,
Okay.
that's the need.
And another question would be, with the plan that we've got in place, what are the employees' thoughts on that plan? And what would you like to see? What would you like to see? What don't you want to see?
I think there's enough people that are not in leadership roles, but through other experiences in life or other jobs, may also have ideas on sustainability, even though that's not their forte at this agency. Maybe they have ideas that could be helpful.
Well, and that's what we want. We want everybody's ideas, especially the people who are working for the service, because they know firsthand what's going on, where the inefficiencies are, and they're the ones who encounter the problem and think, I wish they would do it this way. And that's what we want to hear.
I'm sorry, Joyce, I missed the last part of what you were suggesting.
So with the changes that are proposed for 2018,
Right.
do you agree with those changes? Do you
Are you speaking of option 3?
yes.
That the direction we're headed in terms
All right, thanks for being here.
You guys are good. So, like, to summarize, I mean, do you want to come up with a list of questions now that
Sure.
you've heard some of ours, and
I'll come
then
up with
forward
them
it
and send them to the
to
committee.
Joanne,
Okay.
and then we can look at them,
That's
and
Joanne.
then,
Okay.
Yep.
was it Joe can come up, or Jen, whoever can come up with, I don't know, however many, maybe one or two people that you think would well represent all of you to sit as an advisory, part of the advisory group?
Mm-hmm.
Is that summed
I
up?
think that's great. I'm not sure how committees in Hudson work. What I would like to do is have the committee review these 5 questions, and I know I'm gonna get something wrong, and you can fix it for me. Should I send it to you and you send it around?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, then,
Mhm.
good.
And then before it's sent out to the committee, I think
We have to run it past Devin.
Devin.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Okay,
So, yes, if you'll send it to
Sure.
Joanne. Mm-hmm,
will do.
good. All right, so,
And for clarification, is staff the proper term for talking about the 40 people who are working? Is that
Yes.
correct, Mike? Call them staff?
Yes.
okay, yeah, we don't,
You,
we don't want to use the wrong terminology.
And then we didn't really finalize our.
Jen?
What? Sorry.
Is staff the right terminology to call you the 40 paramedics and EMTs?
I would think, I don't take
As a
offense to
group?
that. Yeah,
Just so we know who we're talking about.
yeah, that's fine.
Say the right term.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we include in the survey information on having nominations for that, or should that be handled, is that something that should be handled at a staff meeting, or how do you think we should handle
As far as actually getting,
getting some volunteers to act as advisors to our committee?
Maybe like one of us will send out, that's what I'm kind of jotting stuff
Okay.
down, because Joey was writing all the notes and then.
Oh, okay, now it's your turn.
So I just write some stuff down, like, I don't know, we can always talk later, like whether Joe or I send out an email
Okay,
and see if people want to vote, or if someone wants to volunteer,
mm-hmm,
and then we pick.
okay. I think we should leave it up to the employees to figure out how they
Yeah,
want to be
I'm okay with
represented.
that.
That,
Yeah.
you know,
I
I don't think we should be
that's fair.
micromanaging
No.
that
Yeah, and, like,
aspect.
I'll talk to Joe about it and,
Okay,
send out email amongst ourselves,
Joe and Jenna
Sure.
will take
and then let
responsibility
these
for that
guys
thing.
know. Yeah,
Mhm.
Right.
yeah.
Let's set a deadline on it though, so we have them.
How often are these meetings? What are you guys doing?
Twice a month.
We're planning to meet the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, but at the end of this meeting, we've got our next meeting time and date to talk about, because, so, the next meeting scheduled for November 8th, but Brandon's not going to be here, and Joanne's not going to be here, and I'm not going to be here.
Okay.
And then we've also got, the fourth Wednesday is Thanksgiving, so,
So
or the
they're
night
always
before
gonna be on
Thanksgiving.
Wednesdays.
Yes.
But that's what we're planning, is the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month.
Okay.
But we'll have to go from there.
It will flex.
Yes, but we
I
need
just
to,
know a lot of our staff is in class on Wednesday night, so it'll affect a lot of our EMTs,
oh,
which is fine.
mhm.
We'll figure it out amongst ourselves.
Okay, because Wednesday nights,
And they're done in December,
Yeah.
so,
oh,
end
okay,
of December.
okay, good, all right.
It's not the end of the world. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Mhm.
But, and then do you want me to just talk to you about a deadline later?
Yeah, I think maybe if we could get nominations by the time we have our next meeting,
Okay.
I think that's reasonable.
Mhm. Okay, good.
So then we have the survey, a couple of people as, advisors, but then the third piece that we didn't really decide on is as far as interviewing people. Are we just gonna do the survey, or do we still wanna have?
I think we should start with the survey, find out what the results are, and
Okay.
then make a decision
All
after
right.
we
Sounds
look
like
at the
it.
results and
All right.
discuss them.
Perhaps that's a survey question.
Yes,
Is it?
We might ask if you would like to be interviewed to discuss these issues further, sign your name.
or send an email to, if you don't want to sign your name to
That's
this.
better, that's right.
Send an email to Joanne so that, mm-hmm.
Sure.
That way they can stay anonymous on their surveys.
Yes, that's much
Mhm.
better.
All right, do we need to take any more action? Do we need to have any kind of a vote on this? I don't think that's it. All right, discussion and possible action on 2010 survey. So, any questions about it or things that popped out at you that we should be considering, or, and a lot of this is old data. It is almost 8 years old now, 7 years old. So, almost 7 years old.
What was the result of this study? What was done as afterwards?
Brandon?
Really, there was no significant change in our operations.
Well, you said that it was discussed to do some cooperation with the other services, but
Yeah, they looked in, and that's identified in here. Some of the hurdles with combining resources were pay scales and stuff like
It
that.
wasn't gonna save that much money.
Where it wasn't gonna really work with other municipalities either.
Yeah,
So we really didn't see a change in our operations at all from there.
okay.
I have a few questions.
Mhm.
So one of the recommendations, they said, and I'm, I have to pre-apologize, I do not know a lot about, all of this. I'm just struggling to try to get up to date on everything. But, so it says that EMS does not, and here it says, provide standby service at no charge to fire calls beyond structure fires. Is that still the case, or do you guys charge now?
We do not charge.
Okay, so that's one thing.
well, and that's because they're mainly there for the firefighters that are.
The one agency that was billing for fire calls, it's a little bit different. Their municipality doesn't own the fire department.
That's the
That fire-
Baldwin?
Yeah, that fire department's a
Okay.
municipal corporation. So they bill them for the service, and then that corporation adds that fee to their bill. So this would be us billing ourselves essentially as taxpayers.
Okay, gotcha.
Do we have a sign CD?
No, there aren't too many spots left.
Sorry I'm late.
Thanks for coming. All right, so
Jen, how you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
this is Paul Rohde. Do you know everybody around the table now, or do
Nope,
we need to
I
do
know.
introductions again?
Paul Rody.
Jim, we've met before.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Linda.
Nice to meet you, Miss. Right, Chief.
Joanne McKay.
Yep, yep.
Up in North Hudson, your restaurant up there.
Oh, yeah. Shucks, that wasn't mine. I just managed it.
I'm
You know-
Bill Campbell.
Yep, Paul Rody.
Nice to meet you.
And you've met Colleen.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay, and you've met Josh?
numbers. Yep.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so you got
We were
the
just talking about
agenda?
this, yeah. Agenda is this one. Yeah, that is.
All right, so
Quickly update him on the action item on
on the survey?
the survey.
Okay, do you want to go through the list of questions
Oh,
again?
sure. We decided we want to send a short survey to the current staff, asking questions like these.
Yes, sir.
What is the best thing about St. Croix EMS? What's the worst thing? How can the service be improved? Currently, expenses exceed revenue. How can we make the service sustainable? Cut expenses, how? Increase revenue, how? Next question, currently we have difficulty filling shifts. How can we fill them? Final question, is option 3 acceptable? And I need a little more language for that,
Okay,
Joyce.
we can work on that.
How should it be changed? And if you are willing, asking on the survey, if you are willing to be interviewed about these issues, please email Joanne. And that way we can keep it anonymous.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's touching the surface, yeah. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
We
want
want
a short-
we want to get an
opening door.
over,
We want a
we want to
short
get this,
survey,
we want to
right.
get this, get the conversation started and get some preliminary information so
Who
that we
came up
can,
with those?
the group here.
Good job.
And Bill,
Bill's
and
listening
Bill.
to our conversation and
Pretty much.
extracted
Yeah.
so. The other thing that we decided was that we would have some of the staff become advisory to the council,
Yeah.
to this group. So then they'll take care, they'll work that out.
Yeah, so we had 2 other staff members who were here, but they got pulled out on a call. So Jen's taking notes, and she's going to start a survey to see who they want to nominate to be advisory to our committee. Mhm.
Are these being recorded because they're
Yes.
proof or something for the like public access TV or?
Yes, so so tonight's meeting is being recorded, it's not being broadcast
Yeah.
live, but future meetings will be recorded, and if we're in the city council chambers, which we're planning to be, then they will be broadcast, depending on the schedule of for the station.
Does the public have the right to be at these? I'm just.
Yes,
Oh, yes,
yes,
yes.
these are open meetings, yes.
Alright, cool.
Mhm.
Alright.
Yes, and we want to encourage the public to come, and so that's another thing that we need to work on is deciding when we want to do a town hall or other things to get community ideas. How are we going to survey the community? And that's not on our agenda, but
Yeah,
survey.
they don't have to wait till they're offended to come, you know?
No, we want them to. And as I had said, our goal is to get closer to self-sustaining.
Yep.
But we want community and employee involvement. We want a transparent process, and then a career plan for the employees who want a career plan. So, all right. So now we were talking about the 2010 study. Did you have a chance to look at that?
Right here.
And Colleen is asking her questions.
Started asking a few questions. Just my first question was about, responding to fire calls at no charge, and he explained how that was different from the Baldwin. And I see that the contract with the other townships and villages changed from a 1 year to 5 year, which was one of the recommendations on here. And then the police as first responders, has that ever been incorporated?
Not really. They go to medicals when they're available, but they're not licensed or certified.
Is that something that should be explored at some point? I mean, I feel like there's so much in here.
A lot of places use it. It's a great system, but there's obviously a cost with it. It'd be cost of training and equipping those individuals as well.
And you gotta have is it called a jump bag? You gotta
Yeah,
have
yeah,
those- You gotta have
equipment.
one with every person or every car.
Right. And so they have minimal supplies right now. They did all get AEDs through a grant, which was huge. But the training aspect and maintaining the training would be a cost.
And we have our own first
Yeah,
responder.
you said the keyword, maintaining the training.
Mhm.
How many officers are there in Hudson?
20
Josh, you
some.
know, right?
22.
Mhm.
22 versus how many EMS?
Almost 40.
Is that many, huh?
Well, it's something I still think maybe we could, I don't know, see if there's any role. I mean, maybe not heavy duty training, but if they're already there, I don't know, or is it, maybe they already do that. But
Yeah,
just trying to think if they're
they assist
called
where
and
they
they're,
can to the level that they
yeah,
can.
okay. So kind of they do as much as they can.
The
Okay.
problem with that is though, if you start relying on the police department as far as,
That wasn't mine.
first responding for you, sooner or later.
Yeah, it would have to
you're
be
gonna-
some pretty clear division of,
Yeah. 'Cause
line. of
Sooner or
duty.
later, you're gonna, rely on them to be responding, and they're gonna be busy on something, they're not gonna show.
And if it's a car accident, they're responding to the car accident, the people, and making sure they don't get hit by their vehicles.
Correct.
It's just a mess. Could be a mess.
Well, and the other issue is that if the first responder has to stay until the ambulance gets there, and so that would tie up police time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Another question, how about bypassing the local hospital to go to the special receiving hospitals? You guys already do that?
We do that, yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a lot of this was already
Yeah, a lot of it was already
incorporated or
happening.
thought about it. And so I don't know, there's not anything new that we should bring up again?
Nothing really.
It sounds like we have a new biller. That was something you mentioned at our
Yep.
first meeting. And it sounds like they do a really good job with
They
collections.
do pretty good. We're gonna be sending out an
A
RFP,
new, yeah.
just to
I saw
kind of
that.
see if there's something better out there.
Is that a company or is that an individual that works for the city?
It's a company.
How much does that run?
And what do we
Is
spend?
it based on a percentage?
It's a percentage,
Percentage
yes.
of the revenue they collect.
So 40, 60,
They get,
80,000 a year?
They get 7% and 14% based on the phase of the collections.
Okay.
So if it goes past 60 days, they end up collecting a greater percentage. We're paying on average, what, $8,000 a month?
8,000 a
That's a
month?
little, that's a little high. Anywhere from 5 to 8, yeah.
Okay.
What would it take to have, what's it cost the city to have a full-time employee? Say,
With Benny's, it'd be about 100,000, and then you're needing a high level trained experience. I came from another city, before 2003, we did it in-house. But with the new regulations, with Medicare, Medicaid, It's better to have a company do it, because they can be specialized and do it for more than one community. Just
Okay.
because of the specialized,
I see.
keeping up
There's
with billing
certifications.
codes and, yeah.
And
certifications.
you said that if you wait 60 days, they get a higher RIP?
Yeah, the longer it takes for them to collect the money, the more they get.
That doesn't even seem fair.
But we've seen fairly favorable results staying in that first phase from them.
Yeah.
We're
It's
also
a lot more
exploring,
work for
Now, is that
them and
after you
more-
guys turn it over to them, or do you guys, they send a bill automatically?
it's as soon as we send it to them for billing.
Okay, so you write up the invoice, you send it to them, they send out the invoice, and then you gotta wait for possibly insurance company, so if that takes 30 days, they still get 14%?
Yeah, so what we do is we write a report,
Yeah,
and then they decide the invoice based on the report. They code it
Yeah.
and make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck
Okay.
on billing. And then it goes, as soon as the insurance company receives it, then that's when the window counts.
At the risk of cutting off communication here, I don't think we want to talk about the details of each one of these at this
Mhm.
meeting.
Yeah, you're
We
right.
should say,
Sorry
about that.
okay,
Yeah.
and that's okay, but, and I, because I'm always learning, but that was one of the, you had work committees down there,
Mhm.
and I started scratching out work committees, so, okay, billing is obviously one of the work committees.
Yes.
that I thought we needed to take a clear look at that, so here's how it really works, here's how, are we tracking them? And are we really, how are we measuring their
We are-
responsiveness, that sort of thing. So, and that's information that us and the EMS commission is supposed to have.
Yeah,
And maybe we do, maybe we don't, it's just.
Yeah, monthly, there's
Those-
a report that can track all of our,
on a monthly basis, a report is provided to the EMS commission, and one of the pages on the report does track the collection, monies paid, or the money paid to them. So yes, they definitely get it on a monthly basis. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you agree?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. One of the things I like though is I like to see graphs as opposed to charts, to columns of numbers, what
Sure.
direction it's going. There were a couple good charts in here that I thought, gee, are we, I like that chart, is it really, because it's telling me how we're doing over time, and those are really important trends to be watching.
So then would this subcommittee be involved in the RFP, or is it already out?
it's not out yet.
Reviewing
And I
it?
have a draft version on my computer
Yep.
that we can.
So would you want-
review, or if the work group wants to review it.
Get
I
some
do have
help?
an issue sheet that I was gonna submit for the next council meeting, but we can review it first. We have
What-
time. We don't have to give notice for our current contract until, it's up in July, so
July,
we have until
February.
May. It's like, it's a
Okay.
60-day,
Oh, I thought it was 6 months.
60 days. I double checked.
All right.
Had to make sure after the,
Our last one was
Previous,
6
yes.
months, yeah.
Why don't you have Joanne send out a copy of the RFP to the group and ask for comments? Would that be a good way to do it?
Sorry, me.
Mhm.
Do that?
Okay, and then
And
if the,
then once the group comments, then it goes to the commission for comment?
the commission approved it without looking at it. They just had to send it out.
Okay.
So it would have to go through the city attorney just to make sure all the language is right.
okay,
But yeah, we already have commission recommendation to draft it and send it out.
Is it a real standard form? I mean, is something that we would even have any changes to?
There's some unique things that we've put in it, special requests for, different reports that aren't always there. Things that we like to see.
I
as
don't
part
think we're
of
gonna
it,
argue with any
so-
of that.
I think it would be helpful for all of us to
Just
see
to
it.
see
Just
it
to know
from
what-
your perspective,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, we can-
And,
all right.
and if there are comments, then send them to
Okay.
Brandon or Joanne.
Yeah, I think that's, let's not get in the way of the
No,
process here.
Mhm. Okay. all right, so
We
any
don't
other
wanna do too much
comments,
of that.
any other
It's easy.
comments about the 2010 study?
That was all I had. It sounds like, even though I thought, since it's here,
Mhm.
but it sounds like it's already been worked to
Mhm.
death.
Mhm.
Okay,
All right.
My comments were mostly around the measurements, that they had the graph of revenue versus expenditures along with call volume. And that was, how has that changed since 2009, I think was our last data point. Looking at that over over the last 15 years probably, because that's changed from 2000, when we changed the service model? 2006?
2005 was when we
Yeah.
went to ALS.
I thought that to me was a very interesting graph, and one that we should be very aware of. Now it's about how we perform, it's how we measure
Mhm.
our expenses and looking at the call volume. But I had lots of questions about, and maybe that's another committee, is what measures do we need to know? There's a lot of questions about where the calls are coming from, what kind of calls, how this kind of call, how's it paid, you know, all those pieces.
Mhm.
I'm sure you guys know a lot of that, but.
Yeah, the other question that came up was, how many of the Medicare patients have supplemental insurance? And if they do, is there an extra payment for those, from those insurance companies?
Yes, there is. We do not track it.
Okay.
I talked with one of our large elderly facilities, and they said almost all of their Medicare patients have supplemental insurance of some kind.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it was, that's one piece of data.
Yeah. I talked to one person last night, and she said that she has a Medicare supplement and that it would pay an extra $100 for an ambulance.
Yeah.
So is that
Yeah.
pretty
And
typical?
So that, what it is they're still a Medicare patient,
Mm-hmm.
so they qualify for the Medicare rate. So we've already reduced our rate down to the $400 and some dollars. Medicare is gonna pay roughly 80% of that, so they still owe the gap.
Okay,
That's what
and
their
so,
supplement covers.
so,
It's not
so,
coming out of pocket. It's-
okay,
There's a commercial insurer
Mhm.
paying for it.
okay.
So the grand total is still just the 400 and whatever?
Yeah.
So we don't really
The
get anything extra,
the
whether they have
Medicare
a
rate,
supplement or
mhm.
not.
Right.
Okay.
Note to self, don't get supplement. Okay, okay. No, I hear you need it. I've never met anybody that doesn't have
Yeah.
it, but,
Yeah, it covers the gap that would be your responsibility.
okay. So there's a
Okay,
little
so
gap
that's
there.
where it is, okay.
20%.
Mm-hmm. All
Doesn't
right.
affect us.
So discussion and possible action on 2018 budget. So Brenda?
And I don't know, I gave you some background information too, the top two sheets, you may have seen it, but I think it's just good information to remember. On the first page, municipal contributions, this is on the pie chart. It's showing the 2017 budget, so municipal contributions, 28%, payment for services, 72. With the 18 budget, the municipal contributions goes up to the 31%, and payment for services goes to 69%. And so that pie chart's changing over time. By 2020, it's at 36%, 64%. And so the municipalities will have to pick up more and more of the costs, and so that's why we're looking at the 5-year trends of the EMS system.
Tell me again, the 5 years, what will
5
happen in
years will be at
2020?
36% for municipal contributions and 64% for payment for services.
Is that assuming that the Medicare payment never changes?
It is assuming, and it's assuming that the age is gonna be kind of steady, that it's not.
Age goes baby.
No, it was more responding to the need for having more permanent employees and what that will cost to bring on full-time paramedics each year. So that's what that's in response to. It's not
I see.
in response to an aging population. And then on the second page, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but this is just now talking about the trend of payers. And so Medicare, we were at 44.25% in 2013, and in 16 we're up to 51%. And as people go on to Medicare, then they drop off the insurance. And so we were at 32% in 2013, and in 16 we're at 28.58%. It's important to note that because that average payment per payer type in private pay insurance, we get about $1,100 per call. But for a Medicare patient, we're getting $423.
So it's not good.
And you know, right now, we're at $580 per call. That was 15 and 16, I can report. But as that trend continues to go up, if run volume keeps going up, we'll still stay at this 580, but if run volume kind of steady off, we might see that start to decline. But that, you know, that we're no different than any other municipal ambulance system. Everybody's dealing with this.
Is the population that we serve aging?
That would be.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that's the reason why these numbers are increasing.
He's looking at me.
And then another thing to note is our Medicaid reimbursement
Yes.
is about half of what it is across the river. Minnesota reimburses quite a bit more.
We get $229 a call. Across the river, it's about $430.
Who sets that rate, as if I didn't know?
The state.
The state,
And the last time we saw an increase was several years ago, and it was a 0.01%.
It's something we can't control.
Right.
No.
And
Is what we live
it
in.
is an issue that they're lobbying on right now.
Good.
They're working on it, but it takes time to make those changes.
And with the budgets at the federal level, depending on what happens there with insurance, we would think that Minnesota might start to decline those reimbursements. So they might be on more of a level playing field than we are. I wouldn't foresee ours going up, but I could see theirs going down. And then the 2018 budget, last spring, when we didn't know if the contract would pass with the hospital, Brandon and I sat down and we said, we knew it was the model that he was running, that St. Croix EMS was running. We were having difficulty filling some shifts, and we were having difficulty filling some vacancies. And so he came up with another solution, and that was to go to what we were running before were three EMTs and 2 paramedics per shift. The EMTs would respond from home, they'd be paid a stipend, and the paramedics were a combination of casual paramedics and full-time paramedics.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is getting more of an hourly job title with it, and that would give us more ability to fill shifts, because they'd be appointed positions, so they're either a .3, a .6, whatever. They're required X amount of hours per week. Right now, we're kind of on a whim of these people's other jobs, other lives, whatever they have. And it's been getting harder to fill because demands are greater at their other jobs, our call volume's increased. You can't come in here and spend the night on call and get a good night's sleep and go to your full-time job and perform well. So we need to do something to be able to compensate people and make this a job for them.
What's that gonna do to the budget?
It's definitely an increase.
So right now, 2017, the city and its partners are paying $14 per capita. When we started this new model, we thought that would be at $19.25 starting in 2018. Because of some savings with our workers' comp for the city of Hudson, and because of some of our newer paramedics taking single insurance instead of full-time or married insurance, we had some savings there. Josh will be taking 2 shifts a week. Brandon will taking 1 shift a week. So we've got the $19.25 right now down to $17 per capita because of those changes that we put in the budget. So that's the budget you have in front of you. That budget is 2 paramedics and 2 EMTs, 24/7, responding from the station. The EMTs will be paid an hourly wage, and then they'd be expected to be responding from the station. And that's in response to difficulty filling shifts, difficulty filling vacancies.
I guess one thing that I really would like to see is staffing this year. Like, okay, title, number of people, you know, FTE. And then how does that compare to 2018? I guess I see this, but I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? There's just too many variables that are kind of,
2018,
Yeah,
it's
here.
a whole new model.
yeah, so it's a whole new model, but I kind of like to see it compared to 2017.
We don't have
Well, it's a
FTEs,
different
that's the
model,
problem.
and because you're actually going from 5 employees on a shift to 4 employees on a shift. So your FTEs actually decrease.
And I do
It's-
understand that. I just
Okay.
wanted to kind of see it because, you know, payroll is the biggest expense.
Yes,
It really
it
is. And so I need to at least understand it.
Yep.
How is it working today? You know, and then when it changes, we'll see, we can maybe have some measurements, you know. And just look, you know, just to be able to get a better understanding of what's going on from a staffing standpoint.
Okay. What would you?
I can
I
work
I
with you
tell
on that.
I can tell you what's in the budget. I can't,
You looking for like a staffing flow chart, kind of like how it looks?
Not so much a flow chart, I guess I'm so used to spreadsheets, but just, you know, and I could, you know, work with whoever on that, but just, you know, here's the job titles and the FTE.
You want a payroll report?
I didn't really want a payroll report, I mean, I don't care about the, you know, that, I guess without, maybe the payroll report without the employees' names. Is that possible? Yeah.
We can pull an
Yeah.
hourly report. That's easy enough to do.
Yeah. I don't think
Maybe we
anyone
could
cares if
see.
their names are on it, it's illegal about that.
Yeah.
for all of 2017, you want a payroll report?
Or 16, since we're not finished with this year, because I assume the same model last year and this year, right?
No, we didn't make any changes, so yeah, it would have been the same.
Just to get 1 year.
15 to 16, we made the change.
I don't know, do the rest of you see that as beneficial?
It's not a big deal, it's the same size of a regular payroll, it's just the numbers are bigger. It's all, you get paid every other week.
They get paid monthly or bi-weekly depending on job class.
It'll just be the year end payroll report. I'll give you a breakdown of everything.
Mhm. It'd be nice to understand the,
By employee
Staffing.
or by job class?
How many
well,
employees have different job classes? Does it happen, is why I need to know.
Yeah,
Okay, it's good.
There's quite a few.
So I guess you need
By job class?
your job class.
Yeah, we can get that for you.
Really? Not too hard, okay.
Well, we're paper, but we'll go back and get it.
Are do you get, cause I don't even know, do you guys use QuickBooks like normal businesses or not? No?
No, we have ACS accounting software, it's a municipal accounting software.
So you
I
do-
mean,
is-
whatever report is easiest, you know, maybe start with that. I'm not looking for a lot of detail, just,
Hours
you know.
by job class for 16.
Yeah, that would be great. And then maybe, I don't know if anyone else wants to see that, if you want to just send it to me, or do we send it to everyone?
I think it would be good for South.
Send it to everyone so
Then
that
I'll probably have
we know what
questions
you're
on it, but okay, yeah.
interested
Could you do the projected,
Yes.
same
per-
number for 2018?
Correct.
Yeah.
And they could, if, I'm assuming, they could do year-to-date on 17 too.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're going to 2 paramedics, 2 EMTs responding from the station. And for capital outlay, that's on page 2, we're proposing to remount the 2010 ambulance when it gets to 100,000 miles.
It's well past it.
Okay. For $100,000, and then a power stretcher and radio repeater upgrade. The EMS commission did approve this budget in October.
Remount means replace.
What was,
Remount means replace?
It's in the chassis
Yeah,
underneath.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
box stays the same.
Oh, it
You just
does,
put a new
okay.
chassis
I see.
underneath it.
on page 3 is just a fund summary. And the revenues are based on a revenue volume increase of 10% from 2016. The commission was a little concerned if we were going to be able to do that, but we believe with the new staffing model that will happen. And 2017 estimate right now, because we had a strong September, we think we'll be at 1,700 calls, depending on the last 3 months. If they're the same as 2016, we'd be at 1,700 calls.
And that's billed out calls, not total. You'll see 2 sets of numbers as we go through it.
Correct, build out calls, correct.
When you say run value,
Run value.
is each run how much it costs, or what do you
we
mean,
can
what is
go
the
over
definition
the
of run value? I haven't heard that.
Run volume.
Oh, I thought you were saying run value, I'm like, it's run value. Okay,
Yeah, there's
okay.
Groupon hours.
Yeah, I want the Groupon for the next time I'll.
And the 2018 budget has an 8% increase in rates.
Where are you seeing the percentages? I'm not seeing that. Or are you just know them?
I just know that.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
Okay. One thing that's important for some of the newer members to know is that the service model is changing significantly. How we deploy people and where they're at. So that's kind of the heart of the whole thing, is the model's changing and the costs and changing, and for a while we're gonna be in flux to see which of the assumptions are gonna really pan out. And so we're just gonna have to be tracking a lot of things. But I think, the way you described it, you have 2 paramedics, 2 EMTs, 2 trucks, 24/7, all responding from here. That's not our model today. That's not the way.
Right.
We don't have full-time
Could be
people
at home,
responding from
and they
here.
get paid different rates.
So you're gonna have 2 full-time EMTs and paramedics every day?
And the EMTs aren't.
Or
gonna
is
be-
it you two?
No, the EMTs aren't gonna be full-time.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yes, yep. And so.
Even at night,
What?
even at night, you're gonna pay someone full-time
They're
wages
gonna be
for a
paid hourly.
medic
On
at night.
page 2,
If you look at,
on page 2, the question,
it's a phase-in.
there's backup medics.
Yep.
How much are you paying that backup medic to sit at that station?
That backup medic will not be sitting at the station.
Okay, because you both said that both of them will be staying at the station
Right.
Yep.
and
So
will be responding.
It's a phase-in until we get to the.
Yeah,
full
I
amount.
just wanted to make that
So there
clear.
will be nights during the week that one person will be the
Okay.
second medic,
Until all the people are hired.
until we get.
Okay, I just,
Yep.
the way you said it was that there was 2 full-time all the time.
There will be some nights that it's the old backup way.
Yeah,
But as we move forward, those nights are gonna get fewer and fewer.
Did this
So,
new model
good
come from
clarification.
the EMS folks, or?
No.
Okay.
The original model actually was, what we looked at was getting everybody in the door full-time. We knew that our partners could not absorb that at all. It's too much of an increase. It was more than double. So we looked at another option, and our second option was more of a phase-in approach.
And that's why
What are
you're
the-
talking about the increases.
Yes.
Gotcha.
One reason for the new model is to fill shifts.
Right.
What are the other reasons?
It's, by doing that, we are filling shifts. We're gonna be able to pick up more of the transfer revenue. We lost,
Oh,
we're
because-
estimating well over 100.
Because
last
we
year.
have more personnel.
Right,
Got
we
it,
weren't,
okay,
we weren't staffed for it.
okay.
And by doing this, you're also getting a decreased response time, because the more people we bring in-house, they're gonna have quicker out-the-door times,
So at the,
versus them being at home and coming down and.
at the massive public hearing a few weeks ago, what several people were saying is an EMT lives on the same block as I do, and so when my husband had a heart attack, he'd be there in 3 minutes or whatever, and that's no longer gonna be the
You'll
case.
still have people in your community that live there that can go
Oh,
as
okay.
they need to. Nothing's
Oh,
changing
okay,
there.
of course.
Yep, they're still gonna be
So
available.
that's the first responders.
Because we all get the same notifications no matter
Okay.
what, whether you're in-house or not.
Okay.
The
So
pager
this is
goes
not
everywhere.
gonna eliminate the EMP who
No,
lives on the next
They'll
block
still be
hearing
able
your call.
to assist.
Okay.
How would we pay, question about pay on that, if they respond from home?
They
The first responder.
They
Yes,
first respond
they're
and
first
it's a
responder.
volunteer.
Yep, they're first responders, yep.
And how does the first responder paid?
They don't.
They don't,
Oh.
nope. Yep, and that's the way
Very
we've been
simple.
doing it for years, and it works well.
I do have to just point out to that comment though, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily agree, just because one person has someone living by them, that they should now have that be, I mean, to me, that doesn't really have any significance, because
No.
it's for everyone.
But people
The
worry about
community.
that though.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well,
And it was seen as
duly
an
noted,
advantage
but,
of the
you know.
old system, and it's still an advantage of the new
Yeah.
system, so it's a wash.
I wasn't planning on going through page 4, 5, 6, unless people have specific questions or numbers that Brandon and I have reviewed and are comfortable with.
Just one question, bad debt, is that outstanding invoices? Like, from,
Yes,
yeah,
so that would, so after mandatory write-offs, that's your Medicare, Medicaid,
yeah,
your workers' comp, but your bad debt would be
people that just
people
didn't
that
pay.
just don't pay the bill.
That's a lot of money out there.
I guess, I don't think it probably applies here. Just thinking about the bad debt, I know someone that's not paying because they're college students at college universities, so I don't know, you guys don't do it with River Falls, right?
No. Not
But
if
I
they're
mean-
in our beautiful city.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking if there's a situation where someone says, okay, there's a rule that, because they're drunk, they have to be, you know, driven. I mean, it'd be interesting to see why some people aren't paying. I mean, I guess one assumption is, oh, they just can't afford it. But it'd be interesting to look at that if there were other reasons, like maybe people really didn't think it was fair because there was a policy that forced people to go. You know what I mean?
And we do get phone calls fairly regularly. Also, we get hardship waivers that they'll fill out if they don't believe they can pay.
Sure.
And generally, we'll look it over, and I don't think we've approved any of them this year. We've referred them out to payment plans. So we are getting some income. It might take them a while to pay it off, but $20 a month is $20 a month, as long as it's coming in.
Right.
So we'll work with that.
And I guess I was specifically thinking of, like, again, this friend whose son had to be driven even though he was completely fine, but it was a liability issue. And so, yeah, if there's ever anything like that, I would really like to take another look, and if it's
We
a
get calls
policy.
like that, but you can't, you know, it's a whole other level of what we
It
do.
is a whole other level, but hey, you
You
know.
know, and one of the most common ones that we see complaints about is our lift assist fees.
Are you what?
Lift assist, so somebody falls down, we pick them
Sure.
up, put them back into bed, they're not hurt, they just need help getting up. We never used to charge for that, but it was getting abused. We'd be at the same house 3-4 times in a week, and so they started charging $200
I
per
saw that. I
call.
was actually glad to see that.
And that was a couple years ago, and we get complaints about that. Well, you didn't do anything, you just picked me up. Well, it's a resource, it's not available to other people now, it's being used.
Yeah, and you're getting
So-
pretty
You're bringing
darn
a
good.
mobile ER to your house.
Right.
Yeah, you're getting the,
And that was the
exactly.
big
I
thing
mean, you're
that
getting the
people told us.
quality.
They couldn't wrap it around, they, you know, all this equipment's tied up.
Right.
Yeah, we did just pick you up off the floor, but we have all this
Yeah,
other
now they're gonna
equipment.
start calling their relatives, which is what we want, you know, if they
Well, and that
can.
was the biggest reason is, you know, how many elderly people live at home by themselves and family pays the bill. They don't know the ambulance has been there 37 times if they don't see a bill for it.
Yep.
Right?
True.
So-
That's a solid point, if you think about it.
Yeah, then the family does understand what's
they
going
stop.
Now
on.
the family starts seeing ambulance bills coming through, now family will get involved and go, well, what's your deal? Why are you laying on the floor all the time?
Yep.
Get some more involved.
Okay.
And with the bad debt, the billing company does send bad debt to a collection agency.
Yes.
I remember you said that at
It's
the
not
end.
And it's a third-party collection agency, so the billing company's not benefiting from that.
And that's new with this billing company, right?
No, the other
Oh,
one
that was
had a
before?
different collection agency that they used. We're also looking at another option. The state does collections as well. And they add the fee onto the bill. So the end user gets the fee, we would get the full bill in return, but there's some time on our hands that we'd have to dedicate to it.
But the state is more intimidating than us.
And has more
Third
resources for collecting.
Right,
They
it's
do
more, it's the
wages
intimidation
on
of something
Trip
coming from
and
the
all that.
state.
We currently use Trip, so they do the tax intercept. We get phone calls all the time, Joanne handles them all. But,
Oh, Joanne.
there's other options if we went through that process. So we're looking at all that right now, just to see what's out there.
Okay. Anything more on the budget?
The only thing I'm uncomfortable with
Okay.
is the decision to have Josh and Brandon working shifts. Was one of the issues that we talked about, have been talking about for a year, is the number of hours that particularly Brandon is putting in.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure, we didn't talk about how many hours Josh is putting in, but that detracts from his ability to be the EMS director, and it detracts from, probably totally takes away from his other job, which is the emergency services manager, coordinator.
Manager.
I'm not sure what the title is, so that's, I mean, that's for the whole city. And I don't know how much of that's getting paid for. I don't know if the city's paying, should be paying part of that.
They do.
Yes, but we gotta,
Yeah.
but then you're doing that much work.
Yeah, part of my salary is emergency management. So,
I think one shift on the field kind of feels good, doesn't it? You guys
He's
can
already
tell me.
doing
Yeah, I'm saying if you do it, I mean, if you knocked it down to one, I wouldn't,
We
it's
worked
still
for-
one.
We had 4,000 hours last year.
You were 4,000 hours, right? You?
yeah.
That's
But,
good.
but one guaranteed shift, we're willing to do that, not guarantee a shift.
And I
Ricky,
just hope we
I
can,
mean-
you know, that's the transition we need to make is from the 4,000 hours to the one guaranteed shift. If we can
Right.
do that, we've made a huge step, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a huge question. I was like, yeah, I had about like 10 questions just associated with that. You know, did you want to do it? You know, why are we doing it? Is once you're full time, do you have to do it? You know.
One of the things that we did when we added the operations supervisor position was we became the backup crew Monday through Friday, us two. And it looked good on paper. It cut the numbers down greatly, but as we got busier, it's not as efficient.
Didn't work. Yeah. You had something you wanted to say?
I don't know.
Say it. We want to hear it. No.
That's what the group's for.
So what's, over the past year, how many shifts have you worked, average, would you say, off the top of your head, per week?
5 or 6 a week.
Yeah.
Wow. So cutting down to one would be a dramatic difference.
It would.
And I would think there are advantages to you to working one shift a week as
Absolutely.
well.
You stay fresh on your skills. And
Right.
Kinda.
if you're expecting people to do something, you should be able to do it too.
Right.
So,
Also gives you a chance to work
All
with
they
someone
focus
possibly
on
different
is
every
like
week
how
to
much
make
we
sure
have
that policies,
covering our
procedures that
shifts.
you want to see in place are still in
and
place.
it's easier to get input when you're side by side doing something
Right.
as you're going through it.
I'm not the only one.
Right. No. I'm
Josh, you agree with that? Yeah, I know.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Do you foresee yourself, Brandon, doing the backup medic shift for 2018?
More than likely, there's gonna be quite a few of them in there.
That
Until,
you'll be
until we,
doing?
until we can get more people in the door.
See, I feel like we don't even have an option during the day to sign up for backup medic, so.
You don't, because that was taken off the budget from last year.
Exactly, but
So that's what was
So, like,
added in for next year.
it's like we're making him do it. But there's other people that might pick up some hours.
We're talking more about the nighttime and weekends, not the Monday through Friday, the extra hours. Because the 2,000 hours, that's built into what I paid for. It's the other ones that are over the night weekend, that's the extra. But yeah, that was one of the concessions we did with the budget, was those options were taken away from you because they saved money by having us do
This is
that.
currently that's the case.
That's the current model.
But
That's
in
why it's not
2018,
available.
starting in January 1st, I assume.
Then all those would be open.
Okay.
Those
Is that
would
what
be,
you-
those would be shifts that.
They are gonna be open?
They'd be shifts that medics would be working, yes,
I have a few more weeks.
right.
I just- I don't know.
So that's part of the whole moving forward. But that was one of the things that we had to give in on to get positions. And that was in 15, into 14.
Yeah.
That it changed?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Huh. So if I were to summarize it, starting January 2018, you will have less hours, which will be good, and people can pick up more hours that they want, which is what people want.
If that's what we're doing.
We just need to have the bodies that are willing to do it.
Okay.
And that's the
Right.
problem is we don't.
And you know, the whole thing with the city and the Lakeview, that hurt our staff huge. We're just trying to come back from it.
Right.
We
People
talked about,
left.
we talked about the last month at the bagel shop, that it was, the morale and the trust have to be built back.
I mean, there's plenty of shifts available for people to take. They're just, we don't have the bodies to do it.
Well, because a lot of people left when they were told they were gonna lose their job in September.
Sure, so they look for
So
something
we're
else,
trying
yeah.
to come back.
Mhm.
Are there
It's
any,
real tough.
are there any, part-timers or full-timers that hold resentment towards the city?
A little bit. That might be one of them.
Does it, all right, I'll just ask it, does it keep you from possibly, that's a really
Yeah, I don't-
hard question to ask, yeah.
Yeah, no. She's gonna still.
Okay.
do it.
Do you
I think
think that
that-
there's possible employees that are like, I'm not gonna help out because the city needs to know that they need more help? Or?
I don't know if it's not gonna help out. They just went and got other jobs. You know what I mean?
There are
They went
few-
to other places where they know that they're gonna be able to work.
There are a few though that have flat out said, you know, I don't feel appreciated, so.
They don't wanna help,
Right.
okay?
This is like a good survey thing.
I
that
was
you
just
guys
gonna
wanna
say
do.
that, now circling back
This is
to
like a
item
hot
one, we
topic.
gotta make sure the survey,
Do you think the
Hold
survey is going to pick up on what we
It's gonna
need
get
to
the
hear?
truth.
Hmm?
It's gonna get the truth if you keep anonymous.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I'd ask more questions about, not even like what makes Sync or EMS better, but like all this stuff that's been going on. We don't know anything about it. Like, it's all closed doors.
And that's why we're doing
They-
this.
Yeah, and I
they
get it,
just-
like-
They just got it approved.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, but yeah, it's like,
Mhm. It's gonna take time to rebuild the trust,
Yeah.
yes. And we
And that's a
recognize
big
that.
question for me, I don't know why there's no trust, I can guess, but I don't know. And I don't know what steps we need to do to rebuild it. That would be something, would be really good for the survey, to find
Yeah,
that.
I think going out and getting the input's gonna be huge.
Getting the.
question, do they know
yeah.
that, does the entire, do I call it a staff?
Yes.
Okay. Does your staff know that this, table's assembled? Do they know that?
Yeah, once we have final approval, I sent out an email.
Did you get any feedback from that?
I did.
Okay, do they understand that we're trying that all the resentment and stuff like that needs to be kind of put aside and they need to participate and help to make something better?
I think they're waiting to kind of see where it goes.
The problem, Paul, is with most of the staff, the way I look at it is that there's been a lot of promises made and nothing's
Nothing's
come
followed
through.
through.
nothing.
So.
I
mean,
think we
from-
need to deal with that.
From buildings
Yeah, that
to
needs to
pay,
be-
from
To
buildings
even our
to
station.
pay
So,
to,
one more time, sorry.
from building, you know, getting a new building to
Yeah.
pay to, you know, everything.
What's,
It's a big can of worms is what it is.
Well, hopefully the survey will
yeah, we get.
tell us that so that we'll know where we
Mm-hmm.
where we
Can we add
start.
the question, like, what's the number one priority you wanna see done?
Sure.
I would just leave any other comments or any.
Yeah, I
any
did
other-
add-
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
have an
right,
open-ended
right, yeah, we'll
Did
see.
add
Sure.
for additional
Sure.
comments, right?
I hope they open up. I hope that,
I think many will.
yeah, I hope they do.
I know our chief a few years ago did a survey and, oh, they opened up.
Was that Eric?
Yeah, that was on Kim's.
Yeah, Kim did it.
Oh, yeah, Kim, I forgot about it. All right,
Can I just ask one thing? So like, in general, other EMS and other cities, there is not the issue of the low morale, is that correct? Or is it because it's a difficult job with high stress that it's maybe more? I'm just curious what the culture
It's
is
kinda hit
normally.
and miss. Everybody has their
Okay.
own issues that they deal with.
Okay.
And just-
I think it's just a lot of it's the support of their city and their people. We don't feel like we have it here.
We do from the citizens, I don't feel like. we
From the
have it
citizens, from the
so-
city,
Okay.
like the council.
I've asked a couple different municipalities and they all, every single place has their own drama, like every single workplace. They're all the same no matter where you're at. But there's like an abandonment issue going on here with the city.
Sounds like for-
And it was it was like a divorce. And now you have to mend the trust isn't gonna be there for a long time, but you have to do stuff like this to rebuild it, get it back, and bury it, move forward, and protect it.
Alright.
All right. So anything more on the budget? Anything,
Bouncing around.
anything more, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm trying to stay with the agenda, but yet
that's good. Gotta.
I know that there are so many questions that need to be
Right.
answered
No,
because
but this is
we
good.
can't move forward without all those questions answered. All right, so discussion and possible action on work groups. So, does everybody understand what we're talking about with work groups? I'm
We all have our own ideas.
and so that's where we need to start is what's everybody's idea on, what are everybody's ideas on work groups? I'm thinking of them as, maybe somebody from this, committee leading some other volunteers, bringing some other people in on the discussion to, get more information on things or to help out with some of these things. But, and some of it's gonna depend on the topic too. What are your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, that's kind of same lines that I had. It's focusing on a specific, more specific topic, drilling down into something like billing, okay, how does that work? What are the issues? How are we measuring? How's the performance? Is this normal? Is this a national average, or are we about better or worse? So really digging down and having that information, bringing in a nice, concise report. Says, here's where we're at. Something that everybody can understand, put it into English, and then say, here are some opportunities, or here's what we found in studying this specific piece. The areas where we can, where we can find, where we can get more income. I think reducing our expenses is going to be tough. I think our biggest
pretty much
focus
there.
has to be, we've been doing that since I was involved with the EMS Commission 15 or 20 years ago. Been doing that. So we need to be looking at income, revenue. That's going to be our big driver. That's the only way we're going to heal this thing. So, but anyhow, so that's why. And then, well, I had surveys as one of the committees where I think maybe we still do that, but communication, so areas that we need to focus on that we're saying weakness. I think what I'm hearing now is communication with the staff is huge. It's really critical. And we really need to here's what we're trying to do. Let's get all the questions answered around what we're trying to do as a city now. Council voted 5-1, but this is the process we're going to follow. And this committee got a 6-0 vote to take this process and move forward. So we think we have the support at this time. I can't imagine any more support than that right now. So, but we have to come up with some action. We have to get communication. We have to fight some of the articles in the newspaper that make the situation appear dire.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
those aren't helpful. But here's what we're doing, and it's a process. It is not going to change on January 1st when the new budget rolls in.
Yeah.
Pieces of it's going to change, and it's going to be a process, and just have to lay that out and say, how are we doing? But that's, I got off on a
No,
on
no.
a roll there, sorry about that. But, yeah, the groups that focus on specific, say, what are the big issues? And some of this will come out, maybe won't come out until we do the surveys. And we
Yes.
get more information and better focus. But
Mhm.
what are the things that we really have to tackle?
So whoever names the committees has to be on the committee, is that what we agree?
Well, some of us are better at identifying problems than solving.
I
So-
think the survey results are gonna drive your need for work groups.
I think so
We see
too.
what
Okay.
the survey comes back.
Yeah.
When are you guys gonna do the survey, like this week, or is this like a next month?
Not gonna be this week.
Well, you got a
Wait a
pen in
few
your hand, it looks
years.
like you're all ready to go.
He's the one who's writing
You'll
everything.
send,
Oh, I'm
I'll
ready.
send it to you by the end of the week, a draft. You're
and
gonna
I'll send it
distribute
out
it
to the other members
to
and.
the other
yeah.
members
Yep.
and say, by the end of next week, we could
Yep.
have a final version. And then
And copy
go.
Devin on everything.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
So just
And-
for
and-
clarification,
and-
from what I understand for transparency, anything that we have to discuss, we send to Joanne, and then she sends it to all of us, and then you guys have access to anything too.
Yep, she'll send it to all our
Okay.
staff.
Good.
So you'll
Okay.
be getting as much information as
Mhm.
we get.
Are you making these anonymous? Did I ask?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
but we haven't discussed what we're gonna do with the surveys we get back. Where are they gonna go to? Gonna go to you?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
uh-huh.
Then what?
We talked about one of our get-togethers about Survey Monkey. Is this,
Right.
Solid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Utilize
Is
a
that
lot.
something you've ever used, Joanne?
I have not, but
Our
I'm sure.
previous survey was done using that.
Yeah. it
Mhm.
was.
It's super easy.
it
Okay.
really
Mhm.
seems to work well now.
Yeah, I
Does.
can help
Sure, I
if
can
you need
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah, you get real-time results.
Okay.
It's
And that does
anonymous.
make handling
Mhm.
much, much easier.
Sure.
It really
And
does.
that way you can give access to the five of us and whomever else to
Okay.
review.
All right.
So I heard Bill and Colleen are very experienced in the help you. That's what I heard.
Got me back. But I'm only on one.
Can I just, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can I interject one thing on the survey topics? We get called away, so if
Oh.
I'm being redundant, I apologize. But one of the things that I think is important to include in the survey is when you ask staff, what are the problems, that you also make them identify what their solutions are. I think just the shotgun blast approach of what's wrong kind of falls by the wayside. Come up with answers, and I think that there's enough people that would, but I want to make sure that, I feel like that should be included. Well, what's your solution?
I cannot tell you how much I love that.
Mhm.
It's really good.
Okay.
I just, I'm so tired of that. It's like,
We'll
it's
just turn
easy
into
to
a
come up with
Yeah,
problems.
you can ask a million questions, but what's your solution?
Yeah.
Right. But we don't want to stop somebody from expressing an issue if they don't have a solution. We
Yeah,
want them to,
absolutely.
we still want to hear what their opinion is, but yes, if they've got a solution, we certainly want to hear it. Mhm. Okay, so any other comments about what they're thinking about as far as work groups? All right, so what types of work groups do you think that we might want to start with now? Is there anything that we could get started with right away, or or do we need to put this off till our next meeting?
I'm not gonna put one out there.
Well, I think like somebody said, we can wait and see
See
the
what-
survey results, and then, because I'd rather not force a work group. I'd rather have it based on a real strong need.
Yeah, let's
Because
keep
you can
it
always
simple.
throw
Let's
a
do the
work group
survey
together.
and go.
Okay,
I don't know, as an ex-bureaucrat.
all right. I'm thinking though that, okay, so somebody brought up communication with staff. And so the survey is a good place to start, and that will give us some feedback on which direction to go. But communication with the community, I think that might be something that we need to start working on now.
Like this'll help,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
then maybe like if you guys invite like a newspaper person or whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I disagree.
Okay, I
People,
have no
the
idea.
general public, they don't get involved unless you're giving something away or taking something away. They're not gonna care until there's a final result. And then they're gonna judge. No one, you could say everyone be here, and no one's gonna be surrounding us at these tables, and it's sad. I mean, the comprehensive plan for Hudson, they do every 10 years, which is a layout of what they're doing for the next 10 years. How many people are at those committee meetings? None. We're talking about the EMS, and as long as they know that we're trying to keep it here, they're not gonna be here. And I would love to have someone prove me wrong. I'd love to see people at the next meeting, but realistically, they don't.
I'm amazed at how many people I've talked to that actually watch the council meetings
Yeah.
on television. So it'll be interesting to see if we get, what kind of feedback we get once these are
Hopefully they come.
televised, but yes.
The one thing I was thinking, since they're gonna be televised, can we set up an email address that people can send in their concerns or ideas to? If they don't wanna come to a meeting, can't come to a meeting, but they have an input, that might be an open door.
Yes. Is that something that you could set up, Joanne?
Sure, we've got an
Okay.
info at St. Croix EMS.
Oh, okay, well then that'll work.
And that way
Yeah.
we could forward it to the group and go that way. If somebody doesn't wanna come and be on TV or whatever, they can send in a comment or an idea.
And solutions, once again, going back to that, would be great to have
Yep.
too.
Okay. But I do want to make sure that the public is aware that
Yeah.
we're having these meetings and that they are welcome. We do want input from everyone who has ideas and
Who runs the
comments.
EMS page, that Facebook page that they built that got all those people on it? Is anybody?
Oh, the
know?
Save St. Croix EMS.
Yeah, does anyone
You
know
mean the
that?
website?
No,
No.
was it a website?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
website, I took
Oh,
a picture of it.
It's a
It-
Facebook.
Oh,
it'd be nice if it-
Oh, the
it'd be-
official
Is that,
website?
I
It's
thought, no,
Facebook.
it's an actual
Yeah.
website.
It'd be nice if
right?
that person
We
got,
have a website.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking is your
Yeah,
website.
this was the
Yeah.
Save St. Croix EMS.
if somebody got that
Oh,
administrator on
That was
board,
Facebook.
Is it
The-
Lori?
that could come here
There's
and
several,
say,
yeah.
and do updates,
Mhm.
you know, to spread the words, because that's a concentration.
I can
of
send
people
them
that want-
the information and
You
they'll
get what I'm
post
saying?
it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, that would be
concentration
good.
instead of a blanket,
Yeah.
Mhm.
here, 13,000 people come and nothing. You got a concentration of a couple thousand that, say you get 100. Just 10% of the people, you know, get them to come. That's more pointed.
Yeah. So are there any work groups that we should set up now, or should we wait until we get the surveys?
I think waiting.
Okay.
Yeah, survey is great.
All right. So number 6, EMS items for discussion only.
I think that communications is one of those.
Mhm.
That's a really good one. Because those are people who actually have expressed
And
deep concern.
they spread
and
the word
will-
fast.
will support activity when we need it. But we also probably need to get something in the newspaper that
Mhm.
shows it moving forward in a positive manner. And I do not have any skill in that area. But I know Rebecca, you know,
Mhm.
she's a nice person, but somehow we need a newspaper writer. And I don't know if there's anybody.
I don't understand what you're saying.
He's
Just
wondering if
to
like
be able
someone,
to help craft that
A
an
letter?
article gets in the newspaper that says, here, we're moving forward. You know, we're working on solutions and here's the approach we're taking. So,
Oh, you mean a letter to the editor?
No.
No, an article.
I'm
just,
on
yeah,
front
just to
page.
contact the
Mhm.
newspaper and say, here's
Huh.
some of our discussion.
Yeah, so
and-
it's,
Because EMS is still a hot enough topic that the
Mhm.
Star Observer would want it on the
Mhm.
front page.
Joyce, I think is
Yes, I
chair
think
of the
that-
committee.
I think that's my
for you.
job. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll reach out to the Facebook person or people.
the woman that just retired from the newspaper.
Oh, Meg Heaton?
Maggie,
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
might be helpful.
she might.
She's doing a cable show now, but I think it's going to be on mental health issues. But she is still staying involved in
What was the name?
Meg Heaton.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other items for discussion only or anything? All right. Items for future agendas? Besides the survey? Survey
I'd say
results?
the survey's the-
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have one thing that I probably shouldn't bring up, but I don't know if it's a question or an agenda or a discussion. It's just, attended my first, I've never really attended the council meetings here. I've attended a lot. For 10 years, I worked at the city of Minneapolis, the budget office and public works, and so I'm used to seeing that, and I know how the behind the door meetings go. But at the city of Minneapolis, they're pretty above board. Everybody was very respectful. So the decorum, is that something that anyone talks about? Because it doesn't seem to be, is that something we can even bring to them, or is that just, you know? I mean, I guess at the EMS, the last one I looked at, I watched, you know.
Oh,
and
the
one
EMS commission,
before,
okay.
Yeah, the EMS commission. It just seemed like it was not as respectful to everyone, and or doesn't? Am I the only one that sees that? I know, you know, one person. I mean, I just felt like it was not encouraging civil, you know, behavior where it's, you know, people are respected and courteous, you know. And so I don't know if there's anything we can do as an ad hoc committee to introduce, you know, okay, you know, here's some language. The chair is in charge of keeping the meetings to order, and if one person isn't really following these basic Roberts rules or whatever they're called of order,
It's the chair's responsibility.
it's the
Yeah,
chair's
it's the chair's
responsibility. But if the
responsibility.
chair's not doing it, isn't it the other members' responsibilities to say something or?
Based on parliamentary procedure, yes.
You did
Anybody can
expect
call
But
for it.
yeah, but I mean, if you don't have that, no, we're never gonna get that trust. I mean, to me, you're talking about low morale. Well, if they were really rude and I'm there, I'm not gonna keep volunteering, you know? I'm not gonna be part of that, so I guess that's important to me that you know, but that's the EMS commission, that's not here. So I didn't know if we had a role in that. Everyone keeps saying no, like talk to a few people, but
And I think they're going through some pains right now because they represent each of their own communities, and we knew, depending on how the discussions went with the hospital, we knew what would come next with the funding.
50-50
They wanted it,
thing.
and so they're, I think, you know, now the city of Hudson has voted and made a decision on that, so hopefully they can move forward.
okay, so you think it was just, because I maybe
That's
just
what
saw
I'm
the few
hopeful
bad.
We'll be hopeful.
Let's be hopeful.
We'll be optimistic.
Okay, well, I don't think there's, I mean, we'll just keep it out there as a thought that if, you know, it doesn't get better, maybe as even just because we're an ad hoc, we could say, okay, here's a paragraph, you know, here's a reminder. We want to, you know, move forward in a productive community, and these are the things that are important to do, you know, just the decorum. You know, maybe just a reminder. So it's something to think about.
Okay,
But hopefully it won't be a problem in the future.
all right. Anything else for discussion only? Any future agenda items besides the survey? And then work groups?
Maybe this is on a meeting with the staff,
Oh, yes, meeting with the staff.
whether, what would be appropriate for this committee. Is there a message that we can deliver to the staff that would be useful starting this process? And maybe we're gonna take some heat. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it wouldn't be the first time. So, we're gonna give people a chance to get this out there and say why they're happy or why they're unhappy, how do we move forward.
So,
Start that discussion.
do you want to do like the November meeting, we go over the surveys, and then the December meeting, we have the staff here?
We have 2 meetings in each month.
We have 2 meetings, okay, so the first one you want to do,
Let's set a date for November. I'm afraid
Right.
we're only
Okay.
gonna
Yeah.
have time for one meeting there.
Yeah, let's set dates, okay, so our next meeting, so our regular schedule is going to be the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. And the second Wednesday of November is the 8th. Joanne said that she's not going to be here, Brandon said he's not gonna be here, and I'm unable to be here as well. But we can still have a meeting, Jim can run the meeting, and we would need to get somebody to take the minutes.
I can watch the video.
Oh, okay, all right, so as long as it's recorded.
Or we
So-
can move it to the 9th. Is that a big issue?
I won't be here for that, but
The 9th actually helps me, but
will the 9th work for everyone?
the only one, it's to be transparent, I have 3 daughters in hockey, so the hockey schedule comes out November 2nd
Oh,
for the
okay.
season.
All
And
right.
I didn't manage the oldest team, so I'll just
Mhm.
play by ear.
Okay,
The 9th?
so are we gonna meet the 9th, or?
Sure.
All right,
6:30.
and then Joanne, will you check to see if the city council chambers are available? And then let Nate know?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, I will.
all right.
Probably.
And 6:30, does 6:30 work for everybody? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, then the
Mine is probably public safety.
no, public safety is meeting the 16th,
You have to say we moved it a week.
yeah,
Oh, it got moved out.
Mhm.
Okay.
which worked out for everybody. Then the fourth Wednesday of the month is the 22nd, which is the night before Thanksgiving. Should we do the 29th instead? Will that work?
It works for me.
Okay, then let's do the 29th at 6:30 in the city council chambers. All right, anything else that needs to be brought up? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, so we've got a,
I second.
okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.